Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to control everything, the more life seems to slip through your fingers? What if the peace you're chasing isn't found in forcing outcomes, but in letting go? Today, we'll unlock a Stoic principle that could completely shift how you approach your everyday struggles. Don't force it. Flow with it. Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're diving into a timeless and powerful Stoic teaching: don't force anything in your life. We've all been there, gripping the wheel of life so tightly it hurts. Trying to control every outcome. Pushing harder. Stressing more. Worrying endlessly about things we simply can't change. But what if that pressure you're placing on yourself is the very thing blocking your peace? The Stoics saw this clearly. They understood that life flows more freely, more calmly, when we stop resisting and start embracing. When we let go of what's outside our control and focus instead on living with clarity, intention, and presence. In this video, we're going to break down 10 powerful lessons drawn from Stoic wisdom, lessons that can help you live with more ease, more grace, and more inner strength. From discovering joy in the small things, to practicing deep mindfulness in everyday moments, to understanding the quiet power of solitude and silence. These teachings aren't just theory, they're practical insights that you can apply immediately to reduce stress, improve clarity, and reconnect with a sense of life fully in the present. Living fully in the present moment isn't just feel-good advice, it's the heart of Stoic philosophy. In a world constantly pulling our minds toward the future or dragging us back into the past, it's easy to forget that the only time we truly have is now. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, once wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." This is more than a quote, it's a wake-up call. It reminds us that time is limited and precious. The future? It hasn't happened. The past? It's already gone. The only moment you have full control over, the only one you can actually live, is this one. Yet how often do we live distracted, anxious, stuck in mental time travel? Stoicism teaches us that peace comes when we return to the now, not by ignoring responsibilities or abandoning dreams, but by being fully awake in what we're doing right now, whether that's walking, working, resting, or just breathing. So start small. Pause before your next meal. Feel the warmth of the cup in your hand. Listen fully when someone speaks. Be where your feet are. Embrace life as it happens, the power of the present. And as we just explored, the present moment is where real life unfolds, so let's go a little deeper. What does it actually mean to live fully right now? In our fast-paced world, our minds are often racing, chasing the next goal on our to-do list, replaying old regrets, or planning endlessly for what's to come. We tell ourselves we'll feel happy once we check off one more box or fix one more problem. But what if happiness isn't found at the finish line? What if it's quietly waiting in the now? Living fully in the present, according to the Stoics, is not just about practicing mindfulness, it's about truly embracing life as it happens. That means noticing the quiet, beautiful moments most people rush past. It's letting go of the urge to control or perfect everything, and instead choosing to be with what is, messy or marvelous. Think about the last time you were truly present. Was it during a quiet morning with a warm cup of coffee in hand? Or while taking a slow walk in nature? Leaves crunching under your feet. The breeze brushing gently across your face. In those rare moments, your mind wasn't jumping to deadlines or distractions. It was here, fully aware, and in that presence, a deep, undeniable calm settled in. That's not coincidence. That's the gift of presence. The Stoics believed that peace is always within reach, but only if we make a conscious effort to return to the present. And no, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can practice this by appreciating the little things. Sun emoji, feeling the warmth of the sun through your window. Pot of food emoji, truly tasting each bite of a meal instead of eating on autopilot. Musical notes emoji, listening to your loved one laugh, without thinking about what to say next. These moments may seem small, even ordinary, but they're where true joy hides, quiet, simple, unassuming. When you focus on what's happening now, stress begins to dissolve. Why? Because most of our anxiety comes from either replaying the past or fearing the future. The Stoics knew this. They taught that so much of our suffering stems from wanting things to be different than they are, or fearing what might happen, rather than embracing what is. But the present doesn't demand anything from us, except our attention. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're eating dinner. How often do we eat while scrolling our phones, worrying about tomorrow's tasks, barely tasting the food? But if you take a moment to pause, savor, and simply enjoy the act of eating, you'll notice something shifts. Time slows. Your mind quiets. You begin to feel nourished. Not just physically, but emotionally too. Right pointing finger emoji, so ask yourself, what are you missing right now? In this moment? By being elsewhere in your mind? Because the truth is, the present is offering you peace. The only question is, will you accept it? And once you do, something magical begins to happen. You start to find joy not in distant achievements, but in the everyday simplicity all around you. Simple presence, the hidden power of fully being here. So now that we've uncovered how the present moment holds peace and clarity, let's bring it even closer to home. How often do we truly live in the present, even during something as simple as a meal? Think about it. You're eating lunch, but your eyes are on the TV. Or you're scrolling your phone with one hand while mindlessly chewing with the other. Maybe you're mentally planning tomorrow's tasks, barely tasting what's in front of you. Now picture a different scene. You sit down at a quiet table. The food in front of you is warm and colorful. You take a bite, and for once, you're fully there. You notice the texture, the flavor, the comforting warmth that spreads as you chew slowly, gratefully. No distractions, no rush. Just the simple act of nourishing your body, with full attention. That's what it means to live in the present. Not some grand mystical practice. Just full immersion into the now, even if it's in something as mundane as a Tuesday night dinner. The more you practice this kind of presence, the more your mind begins to quiet. Something shifts. Stress starts to loosen its grip. And what replaces it? Gratitude. Deep, real gratitude, not for something dramatic, but for the tiniest blessings, the taste of food, the stillness of a quiet room, the way your body feels alive in this very moment. And here's the beautiful part, this mindset isn't limited to meals. One of the most powerful tools for living in the present is mindfulness. And no, it doesn't require incense or yoga mats. Mindfulness is simply awareness without judgment. It's the ability to tune in to your thoughts, your breath, your surroundings, without getting dragged away by them. Whether you're walking in the park, having a conversation with a friend, or focused on a project at work, mindfulness means being there fully. When you're mindful, you're not split between now and later. You're not checking your phone while half listening. You're not faking interest while your brain runs in circles. You're in it, and that kind of presence changes the quality of everything you do. In fact, science confirms what the Stoics already knew: when we are fully present, our effectiveness increases, our stress decreases, and our relationships deepen. But let's be honest, Staying present all the time isn't easy. Distractions are everywhere. Our minds are trained to multitask. So how do we overcome this? Staying present, a practice, not perfection. So, living in the present sounds beautiful, right? But let's be honest. It's not always easy. Life pulls us in every direction. Our phones buzz. Our to-do lists grow. And before we know it, our thoughts are bouncing between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's uncertainties. This wandering mind is natural, but the Stoics didn't just accept it. They taught us how to gently guide our attention back to where it belongs, right now. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's great teachers, offered a surprisingly simple tool. Ask yourself, what am I doing right now? And how does it contribute to my well-being? It's not a complicated mantra. It's a grounding question, one that snaps you out of autopilot mode and reminds you to be here, not somewhere lost in thought. Think about how often your mind drifts away, while driving, eating, or even talking to someone you love. This one question brings you back. Here's a practical way to build that habit: carve out just a few minutes a day for a mindfulness check-in. Morning or night, whenever works for you, sit quietly, breathe deeply, and let yourself fully arrive in the moment. Don't fight your thoughts. Just notice them. Then let them go. No judgment. No pressure. Just presence. As this becomes a habit, you'll begin to feel something shift. You'll catch yourself worrying less. You'll notice more beauty in the ordinary. The morning breeze. The clink of a spoon in your coffee. The quiet strength of your own breath. These small things begin to glow when you stop rushing through them. And here's a core Stoic truth: the present moment is all we truly have. The past? Gone. The future? Not promised. That doesn't mean we shouldn't plan or reflect, but it means we mustn't live in the past or future at the expense of now. When we live fully in the present, time itself seems to stretch. Days feel more meaningful. Conversations go deeper. Stress begins to melt away because we're no longer trapped in stories about what should have happened or what might go wrong. As Marcus Aurelius urged, while you live, while it is in your power, be good. That's the spirit of this practice. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. About waking up, showing up, and choosing to be here, fully, moment by moment. Because when we do, life becomes richer, clearer, more ours. Acceptance of impermanence, the beauty in letting go. Once we begin living fully in the present, another realization naturally arises: nothing lasts forever. The Stoics embraced this truth not with fear, but with wisdom. To them, the impermanence of life wasn't something to dread, it was a reminder to live with deeper intention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." At first glance, that quote might seem grim. But look closer, it's not about fear. It's about urgency. It's about waking up to the preciousness of every moment and acting with purpose. Because we truly don't know what tomorrow brings. Everything around us, our possessions, relationships, routines, even our own bodies, is in constant motion. Nothing remains still. The Stoics taught that accepting this truth brings us closer to true peace. And yet, this can feel unsettling. We've all been conditioned to seek stability, to build structures in our lives that feel safe and unchanging. We want our jobs to last, our relationships to stay the same, our plans to unfold exactly as expected. But life rarely obliges. Instead, it shifts. People change. Circumstances evolve. Sometimes suddenly. So what happens when we fight against that change? When we cling tightly to things slipping through our fingers? Often, we suffer. We create stress by resisting the inevitable. But Stoicism offers another way, a path of release. By learning to accept impermanence, we loosen our grip on the things we can't control. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to deeper appreciation. Life's fleeting moments become more beautiful because they're not guaranteed. Imagine watching a sunset. Part of its beauty lies in knowing it will soon be gone. The colors are more vivid. The stillness more profound, because it's temporary. The same is true for everything we love. And in today's fast-paced world, this lesson is more relevant than ever. We're constantly striving for security, financial, emotional, relational, but the paradox is this: the more we try to lock things in place, the more anxious we become. True confidence doesn't come from controlling the external, it comes from embracing the internal calm that understands, change is natural. Let's take relationships as an example, an area where impermanence often hits hardest. We struggle when bonds shift, when people drift away, when love doesn't last the way we hoped. But what if, instead of resisting the change, we leaned into it with grace? What if we cherished people more deeply because we knew they wouldn't be with us forever? That mindset doesn't make relationships weaker, it makes them more meaningful. It helps us appreciate every shared moment, every laugh, every goodbye, not with fear, but with open-hearted presence. And when relationships end, Stoicism doesn't tell us to be cold or indifferent. It invites us to feel, to reflect, and then, to release, to accept what was, without clinging to what can no longer be. Because impermanence is not just about loss, it's also about transformation. It clears the path for new beginnings, new wisdom, and deeper growth. Accepting impermanence, loving without clinging, living without fear. As we begin to live more fully in the present, a deeper realization gently surfaces: nothing lasts forever, not our relationships, not our possessions, not even the life we live. One of the most difficult truths to accept is the possibility of losing someone we love. Whether it's the heartbreak of a breakup, the ache of growing apart, or the sorrow of death, the fear of loss can feel like a shadow looming over our hearts. Why does it hurt so deeply? Because many of us carry an unspoken belief that the people we love will always be with us. But Stoic philosophy invites us to see things through a different lens. The Stoics remind us that all relationships are impermanent, and rather than fearing that truth, we are called to embrace it as a way to love more fully, not with fear, but with presence. Epictetus once said, "When you kiss your child good night, say to yourself, they may be dead in the morning." At first, this may sound chilling. But pause for a moment. This isn't a call to pessimism, it's a powerful invitation to cherish every moment we have with those we love. It's a wake-up call not to take a single connection for granted. We often delay saying "I love you," postpone that visit, or assume we'll always have time. The Stoics challenge this illusion. They teach us to love deeply, but also to let go gracefully when life calls for it. And this doesn't mean becoming cold or emotionally detached. Quite the opposite. When we truly accept impermanence, we become more compassionate, more patient, more present. Because we no longer take our relationships for granted. We learn to savor the time we have together. Every hug becomes warmer. Every conversation, more meaningful. This perspective doesn't just apply to people, it extends to every corner of life. Think about your career, your health, your home, your youth, your routines. Everything is in motion. Everything is changing. And yet, we often fight to freeze time, to keep things as they are. But here's the paradox: the more tightly we cling, the more we suffer. True peace doesn't come from holding on. It comes from knowing when to hold, and when to release. Let's take aging as an example. Society idolizes youth, chasing eternal beauty in creams, filters, and endless comparisons. But the Stoics welcomed aging with open arms. Seneca wrote, "We are born to die. It is our duty to be prepared for that, and live as if each day is our last." This isn't a call to despair, it's an invitation to live more fully. Aging isn't decay. It's a transformation. Every wrinkle, every grey hair, is a badge of time lived, lessons learned, and wisdom earned. Each season of life brings new value, if we're willing to embrace it. The same mindset applies to material possessions. How much energy do we pour into acquiring, upgrading, accumulating? We chase wealth, status symbols, the next big thing, hoping they'll give us lasting happiness. But they don't. The Stoics saw through this illusion. They understood that when we attach our identity to things that are fragile and fleeting, we build our house on sand. And when change comes, as it always does, we crumble with it. So what's the answer? It's not rejection of life's pleasures, but detachment from their control over us. It's learning to hold things with open hands, grateful, but not dependent, loving, but not clinging, living, but not fearing. Embracing impermanence, the foundation of a grounded, grateful life. Lasting happiness, how many of us chase it through bigger paychecks, shinier things, or milestones society praises? But the Stoics saw through this illusion. They recognized something crucial: material wealth is fleeting. And true contentment, it doesn't live outside of us, it grows from within. Epictetus said it simply, powerfully. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Let that sink in. When we stop needing more, we finally begin to enjoy what we already have. Understanding that all things, our clothes, our cars, our status, are impermanent, frees us. We can still enjoy life's comforts, but no longer let them control us. That expensive gadget, that perfect home, that job title, they're just passing clouds. Appreciating them without being owned by them, that's Stoic freedom. And when we are no longer driven by what we accumulate, we begin to reconnect with what truly matters. Have you ever had a day where everything felt off track, busy, chaotic, and empty at the same time? That feeling often comes when we've drifted too far from our core values. But when you remember that time is limited, you begin to live with intention. You pause and ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my precious time? Will this matter in 5 years? Does this reflect the person I want to become? These aren't philosophical musings, they're daily tools for realignment. Instead of sinking hours into gossip, scrolling endlessly, or stressing over small slights, you start choosing differently. You call a loved one. You make art. You take a walk in nature. You help someone. You breathe. This shift isn't about being perfect, it's about being present and purposeful. Let's take a common situation: you're overwhelmed at work. Deadlines are crashing down. The pressure to perform is suffocating. You feel like you're failing, or about to. Now, bring in the Stoic perspective: this stress? Temporary. This job? Not eternal. Even the opinions of others? They, too, pass. So instead of panicking, you breathe. You focus on what you can control: your effort, your clarity, your pace. You do your best. And you let go of the outcome. That's the power of understanding impermanence. It breaks the chains of worry and allows you to move with calm focus. In the end, embracing life's impermanence isn't about giving up, it's about waking up. It's about savoring more, stressing less, loving deeper, fearing less. living today, fully. As this lesson closes, let's carry forward the Stoic truth. Nothing lasts forever, so live as if everything matters. The power of acceptance, letting go to gain peace. If embracing impermanence teaches us to treasure each moment, then acceptance is what teaches us how to endure those moments with grace, especially when they don't go as planned. Acceptance is a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom. It's not passive surrender. It's not giving up. It's a courageous decision to stop resisting reality and start flowing with it. At its core, acceptance means recognizing what is truly within your control, and what is not. That's where freedom begins. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it brilliantly. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. In today's world, we waste so much energy trying to control the uncontrollable, what others think of us, how people behave, what happens in the economy, or even tomorrow's weather. The result? Stress, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. But what happens when we start letting go of that grip? We breathe easier. We sleep better. We find our center again. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. You honk. You stress. You curse under your breath. But the traffic doesn't move faster, does it? Now imagine a different response. You accept the situation. You take a deep breath. You use the time to listen to an audiobook or simply reflect in silence. You can't change the traffic, but you can change your relationship to it. That's the power of Stoic acceptance. It's about aligning ourselves with reality, not the fantasy of how we wish things were, but the truth of how they are. And from that place of grounded awareness, we make better choices. Acceptance doesn't mean we stop striving or lose ambition. It means we choose our battles wisely. We focus our effort where it actually counts, on our actions, our mindset, and our values. When you stop fighting what you cannot change, you free up energy to transform what you can. Have you ever noticed how much lighter life feels when you're not constantly resisting it? Instead of endlessly wishing others would behave differently, you start improving how you respond. Instead of raging against setbacks, you begin learning from them. Instead of being consumed by why me, you start asking what now? This mental shift brings calm. And not just calm, it brings clarity. Think of acceptance like a clear lake. When the surface is calm, you can see all the way to the bottom. That's what happens in your mind when you accept life as it comes. You see your next steps more clearly. And what's even more beautiful? Acceptance leads to resilience. Because once you've stopped fearing the things beyond your control, you become unshakable. You're no longer riding emotional roller coasters based on things you can't change. You're standing firm, focused, and free. So next time life throws something unexpected your way, and it will, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If it's not, release it. If it is, act on it. That's Stoic power. That's peace in action. Now that we've come to terms with the impermanence of life, the next Stoic teaching invites us to something just as transformative, acceptance, not as passive surrender, but as an active, conscious way of living. Acceptance is one of the most profound and empowering principles in Stoic philosophy. At its core, it means recognizing that there are many things in life we simply cannot control, and instead of fighting against them, we choose to meet them with clarity and composure. Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This may sound simple at first glance, but if you truly live by it, it can fundamentally reshape your experience of life. In our day-to-day lives, we often pour a massive amount of energy into trying to control things far outside our reach, from the actions of others, to unexpected events, or even something as trivial yet frustrating as the weather. But Stoicism teaches us that this resistance, this need to make everything go our way, is where much of our suffering begins. Imagine this: you're stuck in heavy traffic. Cars are honking. The line doesn't move. You're late. You feel your tension rising, the same way it does for hundreds of people around you. But no matter how loud you yell or how frustrated you get, the situation doesn't change. The cars remain still. The delay persists. Here's the choice: you can stew in your anger. Or you can choose something radically different: acceptance. You can turn that traffic jam into a moment of peace. Put on your favorite podcast. Breathe deeply. Notice the people around you. Observe the sky. This doesn't mean you love traffic, it means you've decided not to give it the power to ruin your day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This one sentence is the heart of Stoic acceptance. We may not be able to control what happens, but we can always control how we respond. And this is where true power lives. Now let's clear up a common misconception. Acceptance is not resignation. It's not saying, "Oh well, I guess this is my fate." It's not about giving up or becoming indifferent. Instead, it's about facing reality with open eyes and steady breath. It's saying, "This is what is. Now, how do I act within my values? With what I can control?" In this way, acceptance empowers action, meaningful, measured action, rather than blind reaction. You stop wasting mental energy on things you can't influence, and instead focus it where it matters most: your thoughts, your behavior, your state of mind. Think about that same traffic jam. With the Stoic mindset, it becomes a chance to practice patience, to shift perspective, to slow down and breathe. It turns frustration into freedom. And this isn't just poetic, it's a real, practical shift you can make every day. Acceptance is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's strength rooted in understanding that reality doesn't bend to our will, but we can choose how to stand within it. So what happens when life throws more painful challenges your way, like rejection, heartbreak? Let's take this idea of acceptance even further. It's possible, and incredibly freeing, to stop wasting energy on resistance, on frustration, and on trying to control how the world responds to you. Instead, the Stoic path asks us to focus our energy where it truly matters, on our thoughts, our choices, our actions. Picture this: you've poured your heart and soul into a work project. Late nights, thoughtful decisions, meticulous care. You deliver it, but when the time comes, no one claps, no praise, no thanks, just silence. Naturally, your first reaction might be disappointment, maybe even anger or self-doubt. It feels like your efforts were invisible. But when you apply the Stoic lens of acceptance, something powerful shifts. You pause and remind yourself, the response from others? That's not within my control. What is within your control is the dedication you showed, the pride in your own craftsmanship, the lessons you learned through the process. And that inner pride, is far more enduring than fleeting applause. This mindset doesn't just soothe the sting of being overlooked. It builds resilience. It fosters deep confidence. Because now, your self-worth isn't tied to someone else's opinion. You become grounded in your own effort, not in the outcome. Seneca, one of the great Stoic minds, spoke often about this kind of strength. He urged us not to expect life to be free of hardship. Quite the opposite. He believed that challenges are essential, not just to test us, but to refine us. He wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Think about that. Just as stones are shaped by pressure, we are shaped by how we respond to difficulty. This isn't about learning to tolerate life's problems, it's about learning to grow through them. Let's bring this closer to home. Consider your relationships, friends, colleagues, family. You plan a gathering, but a friend cancels last minute. Or maybe a teammate at work always finds ways to make things harder. Your instinct might be to correct them, to complain, to feel frustrated or hurt. You might wish they acted differently. But Stoicism asks something else of you. Not passivity, but clarity. You can't control how people behave. You can only control how you show up in response. So rather than trying to mold others to your expectations, you practice acceptance. That doesn't mean tolerating poor behavior or allowing others to mistreat you. It means recognizing that your peace doesn't depend on them. This outlook frees you. It turns frustrating encounters into moments of strength. It lets you choose dignity over drama, growth over grievance. And that, in many ways, is one of the most courageous choices you can make. To keep your calm when the world tests your patience. To find peace even when recognition is absent. To choose response over reaction, again and again. As we continue exploring Stoic teachings, one truth becomes clearer: acceptance is not weakness, it's power. A quiet, steady kind of strength that transforms the way we live. One of the most profound ways we can put this into practice is by recognizing a simple but life-changing principle: we cannot control how others behave, only how we respond. It's tempting, isn't it, to wish people were kinder, more reliable, more thoughtful. But the Stoics remind us, the moment we place our peace in someone else's hands, we've already lost control. Instead, we can choose to respond to any situation, no matter how frustrating, with patience, understanding, and emotional clarity. Now, to be clear, acceptance doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior or being a doormat. It means protecting your inner peace, even when outer circumstances are messy. It's about maintaining your dignity when others lose theirs. Another powerful realm where acceptance can reshape our lives is failure, those tough moments when things fall apart, plans unravel, or we fall short of expectations. For many, failure feels like a verdict: you're not good enough. But Stoicism offers a liberating alternative. Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher, encouraged his students to treat every experience, the victories and the setbacks, as valuable teachers. In his eyes, failure wasn't shameful. It was a part of the process. A stepping stone, a mirror, a lesson. So when we stumble, instead of letting the moment define us, we pause and ask, what did I learn? What can I do differently next time? This kind of radical acceptance shifts our relationship with failure. Instead of fearing it, we begin to respect it. And in that space, confidence is born, not the kind of confidence that says, I'll never fall, but the kind that says, when I fall, I'll rise stronger. But acceptance doesn't stop there. It also challenges us to release something far heavier than failure, the past. Many people carry invisible baggage, regrets, guilt, old pain. And while the past is gone, its grip can feel very real. That unkind word we wish we could take back. The opportunity we didn't seize. The person we lost. Marcus Aurelius offered a stark but healing reminder. The past is a mere fragment of time, no longer with us. The present is a mere instant racing by. The future is uncharted, uncertain, and unknown. In other words, holding on to the past is like trying to hold smoke. We can't change it. We can only choose what we do now. By accepting that the past cannot be rewritten, We free ourselves from its weight. We stop replaying moments we can't undo. And we begin to write new ones, with clarity, intention, and presence. Because every second we spend dwelling on what was, is a second we miss of what is. Not just of what's beyond your control, but of the invisible chains we often wrap around our own hearts, regrets, expectations, what-ifs. Letting go is one of the most liberating, and most difficult, practices in life. It requires courage. It requires honesty. And above all, it requires a willingness to choose peace over control. In Stoic philosophy, letting go isn't an act of giving up, it's an act of wisdom. It's saying, I will no longer carry what doesn't belong to me. Whether it's a mistake you made 5 years ago, a relationship that didn't turn out the way you hoped, or the constant pressure to meet someone else's expectations, letting go allows you to breathe again. Epictetus, with his timeless clarity, once said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." This truth pierces deep. The pain we feel, so often, comes not from the event itself, but from our attachment to what we thought should have happened. Think about that. A breakup, a missed opportunity, a job that didn't work out. The event is one thing. But the stories we tell ourselves, this shouldn't have happened, this isn't fair, I failed, those are the real sources of suffering. Letting go means releasing those narratives. It means loosening your grip on how you thought life should be, and embracing life as it is, raw, unpredictable, and beautiful in its imperfection. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you open your palm, the grains simply rest there, light, undisturbed. That's the essence of letting go. It's not denial. It's not apathy. It's learning to hold life with open hands. When you stop clinging to the past or obsessing over outcomes, something miraculous happens, your energy returns. Your focus sharpens. Your peace deepens. You stop being consumed by things you can't change and start investing in what truly matters, the now. The Stoics weren't telling us to avoid pain or emotion. They were showing us how to navigate those storms without being swept away. So whether it's an old grudge, a missed opportunity, or a version of yourself you've outgrown, ask yourself, is this helping me grow, or holding me back? And if it's the latter, it may be time to gently release it. Many people struggle with letting go because they associate the relationship with their identity, happiness, or sense of security. It's completely human to feel the sting of loss. However, from a Stoic perspective, it's not the ending itself that causes lasting pain, but our resistance to that ending. Instead of clinging to what once was, the Stoics urge us to face the truth: everything changes, everyone changes, and nothing is guaranteed to last forever. When we accept this, we start to release our grip on the past. Not because it didn't matter, but because we recognize that we cannot bring it back. Letting go doesn't erase memories or feelings. It means honoring what was, while choosing not to let it weigh us down. It's the difference between carrying a backpack full of bricks and setting it down so we can finally breathe again. Emotional freedom begins the moment we stop trying to rewrite the past. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." That bravery includes having the courage to release what we cannot control. This mindset helps us not just survive tough endings, but grow from them. Take, for instance, a failed dream or missed opportunity. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted or a creative project didn't work out. It's easy to spiral into self-doubt or frustration. But by letting go of the outcome, and focusing instead on the effort, the lesson, the progress, you build resilience. You stop seeing failure and start seeing forward. Letting go also applies to the opinions of others. So often, we tie our self-worth to external validation, what people think, say, or don't say about us. But the Stoics remind us, those things are outside our control. Clinging to praise or fearing criticism only makes us prisoners to someone else's judgment. Imagine waking up each day and choosing to release what burdens you. That moment you forgive yourself. That moment you stop chasing closure from someone who refuses to give it. That moment you say, I did my best, and now I move on. That is the essence of Stoic freedom. Letting go isn't a single act. It's a repeated practice, a muscle we build with each challenge, each setback, each quiet decision to choose peace over attachment. In summary, learning to let go is one of the most powerful and compassionate choices we can make for ourselves. It doesn't mean forgetting, denying, or ignoring, it means acknowledging what is and choosing to carry forward with strength. The Stoics knew that freedom is found not in controlling everything, but in releasing our grip on what no longer serves us. And with that, we come to another essential insight on this journey toward inner peace and power. 5. Embrace the power of solitude. Marcus Aurelius advised, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. This powerful insight reminds us that our expectations, those carefully crafted pictures in our minds of how things should turn out, are often the root of our deepest frustrations. Think about it, how many times have you poured your heart into something, a relationship, a job, a creative project, only to feel crushed when things didn't unfold the way you imagined? It's not the event itself that brings the suffering. It's the gap between reality and expectation. Letting go, then, means releasing those mental scripts. It means understanding that while our intentions and efforts matter greatly, the final outcome lies beyond our control. And that's okay. When we let go of the demand that things must turn out a certain way, we free ourselves to experience life as it is, not as we insist it must be. This shift in mindset doesn't make us passive. On the contrary, it makes us powerful. Why? Because we focus our energy where it counts, on what we can do, how we respond, how we show up. The Stoics weren't about giving up, they were about giving up the illusion of control over the uncontrollable. Let's circle back to identity, because that's one area where many of us unknowingly get stuck. We become attached to who we think we are. I am successful because of my job. I am valuable because people admire me. I'm nothing without this title or achievement. But what happens when you lose that job? When the applause fades? When life shifts? As it always does. If your identity is rooted only in external labels, then any change becomes a threat. But the Stoics invite us to look deeper. You are not your resume. You are not your followers. You are not your paycheck. You are your character, your values, your actions. And those, unlike worldly titles, are within your control. Seneca's wisdom rings clear here, he who is brave is free. The bravery he speaks of isn't about charging into battle. It's about releasing your grip on things that are not truly yours to hold. It's the quiet courage of letting go, of outcomes, expectations, old stories, so that your hands are open to what life offers next. Even our material possessions, as comforting as they may be, are impermanent. That favorite car, that designer bag, that dream home, they can all be taken in a moment. The Stoics teach us to enjoy these things while we have them, but not to become owned by them. Imagine living in a way where losing something doesn't break you, because your peace doesn't depend on anything you can lose. That is real power. That is Stoic freedom. And so, as we wrap up this deeply personal lesson on the art of letting go, remember this. You don't have to hold on to be strong. Sometimes, real strength is found in release. Now, Let's continue our journey with the next profound Stoic insight. 5. Embrace the power of solitude. Conclusion: the power of letting go. Learning to let go is one of the most powerful practices in Stoic philosophy. It liberates us from the emotional weight of attachment, whether to past mistakes, broken relationships, unmet expectations, or the opinions of others. When we obsess over what went wrong, what could have been, or what we should have done differently, we trap ourselves in a cycle of prolonged suffering. But Stoicism reminds us that everything in life, including relationships, is temporary. As Epictetus advised, we should view everything we have, even the people we love, as temporary gifts. When a relationship comes to a natural end, instead of clinging to what was, we can honor the time we shared and let go with grace. This Stoic lesson of letting go doesn't apply only to relationships. It extends to material possessions, titles, and even our identities. We often define ourselves by what we own, what we've achieved, or how others perceive us. And when those things change, or are taken from us, we lose our sense of self. But the Stoics challenge us to look inward. Our true identity is not in what we have, but in how we respond to life. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Letting go takes courage, but that courage leads to true freedom. Letting go also means releasing rigid expectations. When we expect things to unfold a certain way, a promotion, a perfect trip, a flawless presentation, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This doesn't mean passive resignation. It means wholehearted engagement with what is, rather than resistance to what isn't. Another crucial piece: letting go of what others think of us. We often seek validation, approval, admiration. But Stoicism teaches us that the opinions of others are entirely outside our control. Epictetus boldly said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Harsh? Maybe. But freeing? Absolutely. When we stop chasing external validation, we reclaim our inner peace. Imagine this: you're about to give a presentation. You're nervous. Your mind races: will they like it? Will I look confident? Will they judge me? But what if, instead, you focused only on what you can control: your preparation, your delivery, your message? That simple shift, letting go of the outcome, builds real confidence. It turns anxiety into purpose. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that peace comes not from clinging tighter, but from loosening our grip. When we let go of the need for control, recognition, or perfection, we create space to breathe, to grow, and to live more clearly and freely. Smooth transition from previous lesson. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up, it means you're making space. Space for new beginnings, new clarity, and new strength. And once you've learned to release what weighs you down, you're finally ready for the next essential practice: learning how to be here, fully, in this very moment. Lesson 5, Practice Mindfulness. Mindfulness, the art of being present, is not just a buzzword. It's a powerful Stoic discipline that helps anchor us when life feels chaotic. In the Stoic worldview, mindfulness is more than meditation or breathing exercises. It's a way of living, a habit of consistently bringing your mind back to now. Why? Because the Stoics believed that most of our emotional suffering stems from mentally drifting into the past or future. Regret and anxiety flourish when our attention is scattered. But when we return to the present, we reclaim peace. Marcus Aurelius, writing in Meditations, offered this timeless advice: confine yourself to the present. Simple, right? But profoundly difficult in practice. The moment we start thinking about what we should have said, or what might go wrong tomorrow. We disconnect from what's real, this very second. And in doing so, we miss the only moment we actually live in, the present. Think about it. How often are you doing something, working, walking, talking, while your mind is somewhere else entirely? You're in the room physically, but mentally, you're replaying an argument or predicting a worst-case scenario. Stoicism invites us to come back, to stop being time travelers in our own lives and instead become present observers, fully engaged, fully alive. But here's the good news, practicing mindfulness doesn't require dramatic life changes. It starts small. You don't need silence or incense, you just need awareness. Start with the next conversation you have. Instead of half listening while preparing your response, truly hear the other person. Notice their tone, their expression, their words. When you're out for a walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you're washing dishes, notice the temperature of the water, the scent of the soap, the motion of your hands. These everyday actions become meditations when done with full attention. Let's take a real-life example. You're at work, but your mind is replaying a difficult conversation you had with a friend last night. You're distracted, agitated, and not present. Your body's in the office, but your mind is still stuck in that emotional echo. Now imagine stopping for just a moment, taking a deep breath, and focusing entirely on the task in front of you. You mentally say, "This moment is all I can influence." That small shift grounds you. Suddenly, you're calmer, more focused, more effective. Over time, this kind of mindful living builds emotional resilience. You start to notice how often your thoughts pull you away, and you learn to gently guide them back. It's not about perfection. It's about practice. And in practicing mindfulness, you develop something rare in this busy world, presence. And with presence comes peace. One of the greatest gifts mindfulness offers is the ability to remain calm even when everything around you feels chaotic. It acts like an internal compass, guiding you back to center when emotions start to spin out of control. In times of external stress, tight deadlines, difficult conversations, or sudden disruptions, this inner calm becomes your strongest ally. You don't get swept away. You observe. You respond. You remain anchored. And perhaps one of the most practical benefits of mindfulness is how powerfully it reduces stress and anxiety. So much of modern life is spent chasing the next thing, worrying about what's ahead, running through mental checklists, bracing for what might go wrong. Our minds are flooded with future-focused fear. But the Stoics saw this clearly. Seneca famously wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In other words, we create most of our stress in our minds. We imagine outcomes, build stories, anticipate failures, and then suffer from those fantasies as if they were real. But if we simply return to what is actually happening right now, much of that suffering dissolves. Mindfulness helps us do exactly that. It grounds us in the here and now, where problems are usually more manageable than we fear. And from this grounded space, we can act calmly, effectively, with clarity. Another essential aspect of mindfulness in Stoic practice is the ability to recognize the fleeting nature of thoughts and emotions. The Stoics didn't view feelings as enemies, but they understood they were passing. Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, all echoed the same truth: emotions come and go. Thoughts shift. Circumstances change. What you're feeling intensely today might mean nothing tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." That insight is liberating. It reminds us that our thoughts are not ultimate truths, they're simply mental events, like clouds passing through the sky. You don't have to believe every thought you think. You don't have to obey every feeling that arises. Through mindfulness, you learn to observe your thoughts rather than become them. And that skill gives you the freedom to respond instead of react. Imagine facing a wave of self-doubt after making a mistake. Instead of spiraling into shame or fear, you pause. Notice the thought, "I'm not good enough," and let it pass. You remind yourself, this is just a thought, not a reality. This practice of gentle observation slowly rewires your response patterns. You stop identifying with every mental whisper and start living from a deeper, steadier self. Over time, mindfulness transforms the way you experience your day. Moments of stillness begin to appear between emotional storms. You become more thoughtful in conversation, more patient with delays, more compassionate toward yourself. And in that still, steady presence, you find peace. Conclusion of Lesson 5, Practice Mindfulness. Negative or unhelpful thoughts often sneak in when we're most vulnerable. Let's say you're preparing for an important presentation at work. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your mind fills with a chorus of anxious thoughts. What if I mess this up? Everyone will think I'm incompetent. What if I forget what I'm going to say? Without awareness, these thoughts can spiral out of control, building into a tidal wave of fear that feels impossible to stop. But mindfulness offers a powerful tool. It teaches us not to fight these thoughts, but to observe them. You might gently say to yourself, "I notice I'm feeling anxious about this presentation. That's understandable. But I don't have to believe everything my mind tells me." In that single moment of mindful awareness, you create space between you and your thoughts. And in that space lies your freedom. You are no longer at the mercy of your inner critic. You become the calm observer rather than the panicked participant. This distance allows you to respond with clarity and strength. You may still feel nervous, but you're not consumed by fear. You walk into that presentation grounded, not because you eliminated anxiety, but because you didn't let it define you. But mindfulness offers more than just calm in anxious moments. It deepens our ability to feel gratitude and joy. When you're fully present, you start to notice the simple, beautiful details of life you once overlooked. The golden warmth of sunlight spilling through your window. The quiet richness of a home-cooked meal. The genuine laugh of a close friend. These aren't just small things, they are everything. They are life's real treasures. And mindfulness trains your heart to see them. The Stoics knew this deeply. They taught that happiness is not found in wealth, status, or applause. It is found in presence, appreciation, and peace. Epictetus put it best. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This is the essence of Stoic joy, not in chasing more, but in cherishing now. Mindfulness helps you develop this joy by shifting your focus away from longing, and into living. In closing, practicing mindfulness is not just a tool, it is a way of being. It anchors you in the here and now, allowing you to face life with greater peace, sharper focus, and emotional resilience. It teaches you to observe your thoughts without becoming them, to welcome the moment instead of fearing the future, and to discover serenity not in perfection, but in presence. The Stoics remind us that true happiness is not somewhere out there, it's here, now, within reach. And mindfulness is the quiet practice that helps us hold it gently in our hands. Lesson 6, Use silence effectively. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become a forgotten strength. We're constantly plugged in, scrolling, texting, listening, watching. The moment things go quiet, we reach for something to fill the space. But the Stoics believed that silence is not emptiness. It's power. It's where the soul regains its strength. What if silence isn't something to avoid, but something to embrace? 6. Use silence effectively. In a world that never stops speaking, silence has become rare, and even feared. We fill every empty moment with noise, podcasts on our commute, music while we work, constant notifications pulling at our attention. Even in conversations, we're often more focused on what we'll say next than truly listening. But the Stoics saw silence not as a void, but as a sanctuary, a space where wisdom grows, reflection happens, and the soul regains its balance. Silence, when practiced with intention, is not weakness, it is power. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This was more than just practical advice. It was a call to humility, a reminder that growth doesn't come from dominating conversations, but from listening, reflecting, and choosing our words with care. In modern life, silence is often mistaken for awkwardness. If a conversation pauses, we scramble to fill the gap. If we're alone, we grab our phones. The hum of technology, the chatter of social media, the pressure to always be on these have made silence feel unnatural. But the Stoics believed silence was essential to emotional strength and clarity. True silence is more than just the absence of sound, it's the presence of stillness. It's the deliberate decision to pause, breathe, and observe before reacting. In that pause lies your ability to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Epictetus echoed this truth when he taught, "Nature gave us 1 tongue and 2 ears so that we could hear twice as much as we speak." When we honor silence, we create space for listening, not just to others, but to ourselves. That inner voice that often gets drowned out by noise, the voice of conscience, of intuition, has room to be heard. Let's consider a simple but powerful example. You're in a tense meeting. Emotions are high. Someone says something critical or even unfair. Your first instinct might be to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to argue, to correct. But in that split second, if you choose silence, even just a breath, you create distance between reaction and response. That moment of silence becomes your strength. It gives you time to decide, what is the most constructive response here? Is it better to speak, or to let it go? This is not passivity, it is mastery. It's the ability to lead with intention, not emotion. Using silence effectively also deepens relationships. Most people listen to reply, not to understand. But when you pause, when you allow space for others to speak fully, you send a message that few ever hear. I'm here. I'm listening. You matter. This type of listening creates trust. It makes people feel seen and heard. And in a world starved for genuine connection, that is one of the greatest gifts you can give. Silence is also vital for self-awareness. In moments of stillness, away from noise and distraction, we can observe our thoughts clearly. We notice what truly matters, what patterns we fall into, what beliefs we carry that no longer serve us. The Stoics often retreated into moments of quiet to reflect on their actions, their values, and their emotions. It was in silence that they built their strength. You don't need hours of meditation or remote mountains to practice this. Start with just a few minutes a day. Turn off the music. Set down your phone. Sit in stillness and breathe. Allow thoughts to come and go. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What matters most today? These questions, when asked in silence, reveal truths the noise of life often buries. In conclusion, using silence effectively is one of the most underestimated but transformative practices in Stoic philosophy. It teaches us that words have weight, that reflection matters more than reaction, And that strength lies in listening before speaking. In silence, we rediscover the wisdom we already possess and the peace that's been there all along, waiting in the quiet. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And silence is the space where we can choose those colors wisely. Another vital aspect of silence is its ability to nurture empathy and understanding. When we choose silence, especially during conflict or disagreement, we create space not just for our own reflection but for considering the perspective of others. Instead of reacting impulsively, we allow time for thoughtful response. Seneca, another revered Stoic philosopher, emphasized this when he said, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." This wisdom applies not only to speech but to thought. In silence, we can filter through the mental noise and isolate what truly matters. We begin to understand ourselves better. And from that clarity, our interactions with others improve too. Let's ground this in a real-world example. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague suddenly challenges your idea or dismisses your contribution. Your natural instinct might be to defend yourself immediately, maybe even sharply. But with a Stoic mindset, you practice a brief moment of silence. You breathe. You reflect. Is this worth reacting to immediately? What is the most constructive way to respond? Can I listen more deeply to understand what's really being said? That pause, that single breath, can transform the tone of the conversation. Instead of escalating tension, you de-escalate it. You become the calm in the storm. And that moment of restraint often earns you more respect than any impulsive rebuttal ever could. This is not weakness. It's mastery. Silence, in this way, becomes a powerful form of self-restraint, a Stoic virtue. The ancient Stoics believed that part of living a virtuous life is learning to control our impulses, including the compulsion to speak when silence would serve us better. Marcus Aurelius, always practical and piercing in his advice, wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" This deceptively simple question is a compass. Before speaking, ask, does this add value? Does this reflect my highest values? Will this move the conversation, or my life, in a better direction? In a time when social media demands quick reactions and encourages speaking without reflection, the Stoic discipline of silence is more essential than ever. The world urges us to reply fast, post constantly, and shout our opinions. But silence helps us step back, slow down, and ask, am I adding noise or meaning? By embracing intentional silence, you speak less, but say more. It also strengthens our relationship with ourselves. Silence gives us a chance to sit with our thoughts without distraction, to check in with our inner compass. Are we living in line with our values? Are we acting out of wisdom or emotion? Are we being the person we aspire to be? This daily practice of silent reflection is where self-mastery is forged. In conclusion, silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is the space where wisdom is born. The Stoics teach us that through silence, we cultivate self-awareness, build emotional resilience, strengthen our relationships, and live with greater intention. In silence, we don't retreat from life, we engage with it more deeply. We don't lose our voice, we find our truest one. In today's world, where noise dominates our minds and media, the practice of silence is more important than ever. Many people feel the constant pressure to react instantly, to respond to every message, every news headline, every social media post, or every passing comment. But the Stoics remind us that there is great strength in restraint. By choosing to pause and reflect before reacting, we not only protect our inner peace but also avoid unnecessary conflict, misunderstandings, and regret. Silence gives us a moment to reclaim our power before the noise of the world takes it away. Take, for instance, online conversations. The internet can often become a battleground of opinions, where tempers flare and emotions run high. It's tempting to defend your beliefs, fire off a reply, or argue with strangers over things that won't matter tomorrow. But through a Stoic lens, silence offers a powerful alternative. Before typing that response, ask, is this worth engaging in? Will my words contribute to peace or chaos? Am I acting from reason or from ego? This pause can be the difference between a productive dialogue and a needless argument. It allows us to maintain our emotional equilibrium and engage with more intention and clarity. Silence as a mirror for self-awareness. Beyond interactions with others, silence gives us a rare and valuable gift, self-awareness. In moments of quiet, we can observe our thoughts, emotions, and automatic reactions without judgment. Instead of being swept away by our impulses, we begin to recognize patterns, habits of mind and behavior that shape our daily experience. For example, during a moment of stillness, you might realize you tend to interrupt others in conversation. You often speak out of a need to impress, not to connect. You react defensively when feeling insecure. This insight is powerful, not for the purpose of self-criticism, but for growth. When we see ourselves clearly, we can begin to act with greater self-control, humility, and strength. Seneca taught that we must examine our lives each day, not to judge ourselves harshly, but to become better, wiser, and more aware. Silence is the environment in which this reflection happens. Silence cultivates gratitude and perspective. Silence is not just a tool for avoiding mistakes, it's also a sacred space for appreciation. When we slow down and allow the noise to fade, we can truly see the good that surrounds us, the warmth of a quiet morning, the smile of a loved one, the food on our table, the breath in our lungs. These moments, though simple, are the foundation of contentment. The Stoics believed that gratitude is not optional, it's essential. And silence is the soil in which gratitude grows. By taking even a few minutes each day to sit in silence and reflect on what we're thankful for, we anchor ourselves in what's real and meaningful. We stop chasing happiness outside ourselves and start experiencing it within. In conclusion, the Stoics didn't see silence as a void. They saw it as a form of wisdom. Silence helps us listen more deeply, respond with clarity, reflect with honesty, feel gratitude for the present, understand ourselves better, preserve our peace. In a world that urges us to speak fast and often, silence becomes a quiet act of rebellion, and a profound act of self-mastery. As Epictetus wisely reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen twice as much as we speak. Practice the power of silence. Let it be your shield, your mirror, and your guide. In a world driven by results, rankings, and the next big milestone, one of the most powerful and often forgotten lessons of Stoic philosophy is this: focus on the journey, not just the outcome. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness and self-worth lie only at the finish line, after we've achieved our goals, earned the promotion, or gotten the recognition. But the Stoics remind us, true contentment doesn't wait for outcomes, it lives in the process. Joy in the process. Epictetus famously said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens the way it happens. Then you will be happy." This profound teaching encourages us to release our grip on results and instead find fulfillment in the present moment, in the doing, not the getting. It's not about lowering ambition. It's about elevating awareness. When we focus too much on success or failure, we burden ourselves with anxiety and self-judgment. But when we shift our focus to effort, growth, and learning, we discover something liberating. The journey itself becomes the reward. A real-life parallel. Consider someone training for a marathon. If their only concern is crossing the finish line under a certain time, they might miss the entire beauty of the experience. The quiet early mornings of running under a rising sun. The gradual strength and endurance gained over weeks. The mental discipline learned from showing up, even on hard days. The small victories, an extra mile, a better posture, fewer doubts. These moments are not distractions from the goal, they are the goal. The marathon is not just the race day, it's every day that led to it. Detaching from results. The Stoics teach that outcomes are not entirely within our control. We can influence them, but never fully dictate them. Illness, weather, other people's choices, or sheer chance can all affect results. So if our happiness depends only on outcomes, we surrender our peace to fortune. But if our joy comes from the integrity of our effort, we reclaim that power. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The fruit of this life is good character and acts for the common good." In other words, it's who you become along the way, not what you achieve, that defines a meaningful life. Reframing success. What if you pursued your goals not to prove something to the world, but to develop yourself? What if success meant being courageous, not just victorious? By shifting the definition of success from outcome-based to process-based, you cultivate a more resilient, joyful, and grounded life. You're no longer trapped by perfectionism or paralyzed by failure. You're free to try, to grow, to move forward, no matter what. Finding joy in the mundane. The Stoics also remind us that even the smallest, most ordinary actions can carry deep meaning when done with presence and purpose. Washing dishes, working on a report, helping a friend, stretching in the morning, these aren't meaningless tasks to get through. They are part of the journey, and they deserve your full attention. When you engage with life fully, even the mundane becomes sacred. In conclusion, enjoy the journey, not just the outcome. It sounds simple, but it's a radical shift in how we live. By embracing this Stoic lesson, you free yourself from the pressure of perfection. You anchor joy in the present, not in the uncertain future. You transform daily life into a meaningful adventure of growth. Remember, it's not about how fast you climb the mountain, or how high you reach. It's about how you walk the path, moment by moment, with intention, effort, and grace. Let your journey be your joy. The courage to act is what truly matters. Let's return to our earlier example. You're working on a long-term project, maybe a thesis, a product launch, a complex report, or even building a new business. In the beginning, you feel energized. The vision is clear. The possibilities are exciting. But slowly, the pressure creeps in. You begin to worry. What if this isn't good enough? What if I fail? What if no one notices or appreciates this? That initial spark starts to dim, the joy fades, and all that's left is stress. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes your anchor. Instead of fixating on the end result, you redirect your attention to the present effort, to what you're doing right now, not what might or might not happen later. You remind yourself that every sentence written is a victory. Every hour of focus is a triumph. Every step forward, no matter how small, is part of your growth. This shift transforms the pressure into presence. It transforms anxiety into awareness. And most importantly, it returns ownership of your happiness to you, not to some future outcome. Uncertainty is a constant, and that's okay. Another essential aspect of enjoying the journey is understanding that life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully we plan or how hard we work, the final result is never fully in our control. You might give your best, and the result might still fall short. Or, unexpectedly, something better might happen. As Seneca wisely said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that things are difficult." This Stoic insight flips the narrative. Fear of failure often prevents us from starting, or from enjoying what we're already doing. But when we act with courage, regardless of outcome, we grow stronger. We become the kind of person who dares, who endures, who learns. That, in itself, is success. Success is found in the moment. When we let go of rigid expectations and instead show up fully to the present moment, we tap into the real reward of any pursuit, the person we become along the way. We develop discipline, from showing up consistently. Clarity, from reflecting on what really matters. Confidence, from overcoming resistance. Gratitude, from savoring small joys others overlook. As Marcus Aurelius put it, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If your thoughts are always chasing the future, you'll never feel settled. But if your thoughts return to the effort, the meaning, and the discipline of the now, you become unshakable. Final thought: the journey is where life happens. The Stoics don't ask us to stop dreaming or setting goals. They simply ask us not to trade the richness of the journey for the illusion that joy waits only at the end. Because sometimes, the goal may change. Sometimes, it may never come. But the journey, the work, the growth, the moments shared, the person you're becoming, that is guaranteed. That is real. And that is worth enjoying. It's the willingness to try, not the guarantee of success, that builds strength. True growth begins the moment we stop asking, "Will I succeed?" and instead start asking, "Am I giving this my best?" When we accept that outcomes are uncertain and that failure is a natural part of life, we remove a huge burden from our shoulders. We no longer carry the fear of failure like a heavy weight. Instead, we walk lighter, with clarity and courage, focusing on what is always within our control: our attitude, our effort, our willingness to show up. Think of athletes, artists, writers, or anyone who pursues mastery in their field. They train for months, sometimes years, without guarantees. A pianist may practice the same passage for hours. A marathon runner might train in silence, long before anyone cheers. A sculptor might chisel away in solitude, never knowing if their work will be appreciated. If their joy depended only on medals, applause, or social media likes, they would likely burn out, discouraged by every missed note or lost trace. But those who fall in love with the process, those who find joy in the daily practice, the quiet breakthroughs, the inner discipline, are the ones who endure. They grow. They flourish. Their satisfaction runs deeper than any trophy can offer. Stoicism teaches that the process is not a means to an end, it is the end. The power of setbacks, growth in disguise. When we become too obsessed with results, even a small setback can feel like a failure. A rejected pitch, a low grade, a slow month in business, it can all feel like proof that we're not good enough, that we're wasting our time. But from the Stoic perspective, a setback is not the end, it's a chapter in the training manual of life. Epictetus taught that challenges and obstacles are not punishments, they are opportunities to cultivate wisdom, patience, and emotional strength. In fact, he would say that true character is revealed not in comfort, but in difficulty. So instead of labeling setbacks as failures, we can ask, what is this teaching me? Where can I grow from this? How can I become better because of this, not in spite of it? This mindset removes shame from failure and replaces it with curiosity. We no longer fear the obstacle. We lean into it, because we know that each moment of struggle is shaping us into someone more capable, more resilient, and more grounded. Patience, the silent strength of the journey. Enjoying the journey also means learning to be gentle and patient with ourselves. In a world that rewards speed, we often forget that lasting change, real growth, and deep fulfillment take time. We set big goals and expect quick results. And when things don't move fast enough, we get frustrated, thinking we're falling behind or not doing enough. But the Stoics invite us to pause. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "No matter how long you train a bird to sing, you will never teach it to sing the way you do. Each has its own nature, its own way." This is a profound reminder. We each have our own rhythm, our own learning curve, our own path to walk. And just because someone else reached their milestone faster doesn't mean you're behind. You're simply on your own unique journey, and that deserves respect. Instead of rushing, we honor the moment we're in. We celebrate small progress. We trust that each day of effort is building something unseen but real: strength of character, clarity of purpose, depth of understanding. Final thought: the journey is the real reward. In Stoicism, success is not defined by outcomes but by who we become through the pursuit. The late nights, the early mornings, the quiet perseverance when no one is watching. That's where our power lies. So whether you're just beginning a new endeavor or deep in the middle of one, remember, don't wait for the result to feel proud. You can take pride right now, in your discipline, your growth, and your courage to keep going. Enjoy the climb. Because the summit matters less than the strength, wisdom, and beauty you discover on the way up. Joy lives in the present, not in the pursuit. In a world obsessed with more success, more wealth, more recognition, Stoic philosophy quietly reminds us that less is often more than enough. One of the most beautiful and transformative lessons from the Stoics is the ability to find joy in the simplest things. This isn't just a romantic idea, it's a powerful mindset that brings peace, freedom, and gratitude into our daily lives. Seneca, a revered Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This one sentence carries a lifetime of wisdom. It speaks directly to the human tendency to chase after bigger houses, fancier titles, and the next milestone, believing that happiness lies just beyond the next achievement. But Stoicism flips this thinking on its head. Happiness, the Stoics teach, is not found in getting more, it's found in needing less. True contentment doesn't come from finally reaching the top, it comes from standing still long enough to appreciate the sky above you, the air you breathe, and the people beside you. What if you already have enough? Think about the last time you felt deeply joyful. Was it when you bought something expensive? Or was it a quiet moment, a heartfelt conversation, the sound of rain tapping on your window, a shared laugh over a simple meal? The Stoics believed that these everyday experiences hold more power than we realize. They taught that our mindset determines our joy, not our bank account, job title, or possessions. When we slow down and savor what's already in front of us, our morning coffee, the warmth of sunlight, a gentle breeze, the presence of someone we love, we start to realize how rich life already is. This is the practice of Stoic gratitude, seeing the value in ordinary moments, and choosing to be fulfilled by them rather than chasing the illusion of more. From desiring to appreciating. Many people spend their lives in a cycle of desire. When I get that promotion, then I'll be happy. When I buy that car, then I'll feel successful. When I lose weight, then I'll love myself. But as the Stoics observed, desire never truly ends. The moment we get what we want, a new craving takes its place. It's an endless race with no finish line. The alternative? Learn to appreciate. When we shift from desiring what we don't have to appreciating what we do, everything changes. Life slows down. Peace enters the room. And we begin to feel a deep, quiet sense of fulfillment that no external achievement can match. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This is the heart of Stoic joy. It's not about simplifying our possessions, it's about simplifying our expectations. A practical way to practice simple joy. Imagine you're walking to work. You're usually in a rush. Headphones in. Mind already 10 steps ahead in your day. But today, you decide to walk like a Stoic. You notice the way the light falls on the pavement. The laughter of school children passing by. The smell of fresh bread from a nearby bakery. Nothing grand has happened, but suddenly, you feel alive. This is the power of Stoic awareness. When we train ourselves to notice and savor the present moment, life opens up. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and joy becomes accessible, not tomorrow, but now. Conclusion: the abundance you've been searching for. In conclusion, finding joy in the simplest things is not just a charming idea, it's a Stoic superpower. By turning away from the endless pursuit of more and tuning into the richness of the present, we unlock a kind of happiness that no amount of money or success can buy. We realize that what we truly need is often already within reach. The Stoics invite us to stop waiting for joy, and to start seeing it. In the morning light. In a shared smile. In the first bite of a warm meal. In the breath you're taking right now. Because the good life is not hidden in the future. It's happening, in the smallest, simplest moments, if only we choose to see it. The joy hiding in plain sight. When we stop obsessing over what we lack or what we wish we had, and instead choose to open our eyes to what is already here, we uncover something beautiful. We begin to see that life is filled with small, often overlooked moments that carry deep joy. The flicker of sunlight on your skin. The steam rising from a warm cup of coffee. The gentle hum of rain outside your window. Or the smile of a stranger passing by. These are not trivial details. These are gifts. The reason many of us miss them is simple: we're too distracted, too rushed, too preoccupied with chasing something else, more money, more recognition, more meaning. But ironically, the more we chase meaning, the more we run past the very moments that are meaningful. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature." In essence, if our minds are constantly filled with anxiety, comparison, longing for more, we train ourselves to overlook the present. But when we choose thoughts rooted in gratitude and clarity, we start to see the beauty that's always been around us. The noise of modern life versus the calm of simplicity. We live in a consumer-driven world. Everywhere we turn, we're told that we need more success, more gadgets, more upgrades, happiness. We're told, is on the other side of the next purchase. But Stoicism tells us a different story. It whispers what advertising never will. You already have enough. Epictetus put it this way: wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This Stoic truth is more relevant today than ever. When we constantly desire more, we place happiness in the future. But the moment we reduce our desires, we unlock joy in the now. Choose to see. Choose to feel. Let's step into a simple scene. You're walking through a quiet park on a sunny afternoon. The breeze is light. The leaves above are dancing. Birds chirp nearby. You could spend the moment glued to your phone, worrying about deadlines or scrolling through what others have that you don't. And most days, maybe you do. But today, you pause. You take a breath. You see the trees. You hear the birds. You feel the breeze on your skin. And suddenly, without anything changing, you feel peace. You feel content. You feel joy. That moment didn't cost anything. It wasn't big or impressive. But it was real. It was yours. The Stoics believed that this presence, this ability to notice, is the essence of a meaningful life. When we slow down enough to appreciate the simplest experiences, we reclaim our peace from the noise of the world. Gratitude, the secret ingredient. Finding joy in simplicity is intimately tied to practicing gratitude. To be grateful is to see life clearly, not as something we are owed, but as something we are given. And when we begin to see life this way, everything changes. Suddenly, dinner with family becomes a treasure. A conversation with a friend becomes sacred. The ability to walk, to breathe, to love, becomes astonishing. The Stoics didn't wait for perfect circumstances to feel joy. They created joy by learning to value what they already had. Even in the face of hardship, they reminded themselves that life itself was the gift, that being alive was enough, that now, not someday, is where joy lives. Conclusion: a rich life in small moments. In conclusion, finding joy in the simplest things is not a matter of settling for less, it's a radical act of seeing more. It's about tuning out the noise of endless desires and choosing to be present, grateful, and open to what already is. The Stoics teach us that joy doesn't wait on milestones. It lives in the rustle of leaves, the warmth of touch, the quiet strength of being present. When we stop rushing past life, we discover we're already surrounded by what we've been looking for. The small moments are not small. They are life itself. The quiet power of gratitude. The Stoics believed that gratitude is not just a pleasant feeling, it is one of the most powerful antidotes to dissatisfaction, frustration, and unhappiness. When we intentionally reflect on the good in our lives, we change the lens through which we view the world. We begin to see abundance where we once saw lack. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This is a call to let go of the restless urge for what's next, and instead to fully appreciate what is already here. When we're always looking forward, chasing after the next achievement, the next possession, the next validation, we risk missing out on the only moment that truly belongs to us, now. Gratitude helps us pause. It teaches us to say, "This is enough. I am enough. Right here. Right now." Daily gratitude, a Stoic ritual. You don't need a grand ceremony to practice gratitude. In fact, the Stoics would argue that the most powerful gratitude is the simplest kind. Just a few quiet moments, consistently. Some people write in a gratitude journal each night before bed, listing 3 things they're thankful for. Others take a moment during lunch, a walk, or even in traffic, to mentally acknowledge a small blessing, a roof overhead, a warm meal, the sound of laughter. Whether it's the comfort of a cozy blanket on a rainy night or the satisfaction of a project completed with care, these moments, when noticed, become anchors of peace. Practicing gratitude does more than just shift your mood, it strengthens your resilience. Because when you can find something to be grateful for even in hardship, you carry a powerful light into the darkest places. Simplicity and contentment go hand in hand. Finding joy in the simplest things isn't just about noticing what we have. It's also about choosing a lifestyle that values moderation and inner clarity over luxury and excess. The Stoics didn't chase extravagance. They believed that the pursuit of more money, more possessions, more status, often comes at the cost of our peace. Instead, they advocated for simplicity, not because they were against wealth, but because they were for freedom. Freedom from dependence. Freedom from craving. Freedom from being ruled by desire. Epictetus taught, "He who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing." This wisdom reminds us that no amount of external success can fill an internal void. When we are never content, we live in a state of quiet torment, always reaching, never arriving. The freedom in letting go. Imagine simplifying your life, not as a sacrifice, but as a liberation. What would happen if you let go of the clutter in your home that no longer serves you? Or cancelled a subscription you don't need? Or decided that what's in your closet is enough? This isn't about deprivation. It's about intention, about making space for the things that actually matter: your health, your loved ones, your growth, your peace. The Stoics believed that by loosening our attachment to material things, we free up emotional and mental energy to focus on virtue, purpose, and connection. We stop trying to prove our worth through what we own or achieve. Instead, we begin living in alignment with who we truly are. Being present with the people we love. There's one final, often overlooked dimension to finding joy in the simplest things: being fully present with the people we care about. In a world of distractions, where phones buzz and notifications compete for our attention, giving someone our undivided presence is a rare and precious gift. When we put down the phone, turn off the noise, and truly listen to a friend or sit quietly beside a loved one, we're reminded of the richness of human connection. The Stoics knew that life is short and unpredictable. That's why they encouraged us to cherish our relationships, to speak kindly, and to never take time together for granted. Because one day, all we'll wish for is another ordinary moment with the ones we love. Conclusion: abundance in simplicity. In conclusion, the Stoic lesson of finding joy in the simplest things invites us to slow down, strip away the noise, and return to what truly matters. It teaches us that we don't need more to feel full, we just need to notice more. Gratitude grounds us. Simplicity frees us. Presence transforms even the smallest moment into something sacred. In a world obsessed with what's next, the Stoics gently point us back to what's now, and in doing so, they help us rediscover that true joy, quiet, lasting, and deeply real, has been here all along. The art of gratitude, a Stoic key to lasting fulfillment. In our busy lives, it's easy to overlook the people who matter most. We might be physically present with loved ones, yet our minds are elsewhere, occupied with to-do lists, screens, or anxieties. But the Stoics remind us that some of life's most meaningful moments are the ones shared in quiet connection with others. Marcus Aurelius beautifully captured this when he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This quote is more than poetic, it's a daily reminder to slow down and truly see the people around us. Sharing a simple meal, talking with a friend, or even sitting silently together under the same sky, these are not mundane acts. They are, in fact, where life happens. In these moments, gratitude is born. Gratitude, a core practice in Stoic wisdom. Among all the Stoic lessons, the art of gratitude stands as a pillar of emotional strength and peace of mind. Gratitude is not a fleeting feeling, it's a way of seeing. A way of shifting our focus from scarcity to sufficiency, from longing to appreciation. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." To live with a grateful heart, according to Stoic thought, is to recognize the miracle of what already is, not to dwell on what is missing. In a culture that often equates happiness with acquisition, more success, more money, more status, this Stoic principle is refreshingly radical. The Stoics challenge us to pause and ask, do I really need more? Or have I simply forgotten how much I already have? Gratitude in a modern world of endless desire. In modern life, the chase for more never seems to end. We're conditioned to measure our worth by the things we've accumulated, the titles we hold, or the praise we receive. Yet, the Stoics warn that the pursuit of more, when driven by emptiness or insecurity, leads not to peace, but to endless dissatisfaction. Epictetus, the humble slave-turned-philosopher, offered this counter-perspective. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This is not about denying your desires or ignoring ambition. It's about building a life rooted in enough. Gratitude anchors us in the present and quiets the mind's relentless craving for what's next. It brings us back to what is real, what is now, what is already yours. Practicing gratitude through difficulty. Importantly, Stoic gratitude is not naive optimism. It does not mean ignoring pain or pretending that everything is fine. Instead, it asks us to hold both, the hardship and the blessing, in the same hand. Let's say you're facing a difficult period, perhaps financial stress, illness, or emotional grief. Practicing Stoic gratitude in this context doesn't mean denying your pain. It means recognizing, even within pain, the presence of good, the friend who checked in, the strength you didn't know you had, the morning light that still shines through your window. Gratitude, then, becomes a lifeline, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is still light, however small. A practical example, reframing the everyday. Imagine you're stuck in traffic after a long, stressful day. You could let frustration dominate the moment, thinking about how much time you're losing, how unfair it is, or how tired you feel. Or, you could shift your lens. You could use this time to breathe deeply, reflect on one good thing that happened today, or listen to music that lifts your spirit. You could remember, as Marcus Aurelius would, that you are alive, and that alone is reason enough for gratitude. It sounds simple, even trivial, but these tiny moments, when repeated over time, rewire the mind. They create a mental environment where peace can thrive. Making gratitude a daily practice. The Stoics would likely agree that gratitude is not a one-time act. It is a discipline, one that, like a muscle, must be trained daily. Here are 3 simple Stoic-inspired ways to bring more gratitude into your life. Start and end each day with thanks. Before rising, name one thing you're grateful for. Before sleeping, reflect on a small joy or lesson from the day. Keep a gratitude log. Write down 3 things each evening that you appreciated that day. They can be as big as a breakthrough at work or as small as the taste of fresh fruit. Turn obstacles into opportunities for thanks. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What strength am I building right now? Even struggle can be a gift. In summary, the heart that sees clearly. In conclusion, gratitude is a Stoic superpower. It shifts your reality, not by changing what you have, but by changing how you see what you have. It transforms the ordinary into the sacred, and it grounds you in the richness of the present moment. The Stoics teach us that true joy is not found in getting more, but in needing less, and appreciating more. Gratitude doesn't just soften our hearts, it sharpens our vision, reminding us that what we seek has often been with us all along. Practicing gratitude during life's challenges. It's one thing to feel grateful when life is going smoothly, but what about during hardship, when things fall apart at work, in relationships, or within ourselves? That's where Stoic gratitude becomes not just helpful, but essential. Imagine you're going through a rough patch at your job, maybe you're overwhelmed with responsibilities, dealing with an unfair manager, or feeling undervalued. Or perhaps you're struggling in a relationship that's going through conflict, distance, or change. These are the moments when the mind tends to spiral, gripping onto negative thoughts, worst-case scenarios, and feelings of powerlessness. But here's what the Stoics knew: we are never powerless in how we respond. And gratitude is one of the most powerful responses we can choose. Instead of being consumed by what's going wrong, Stoic practice invites us to ask, what can I still be grateful for, right now? It might be the strength you're developing by enduring adversity. It might be the one friend who listens without judgment. It might be the simple fact that you're learning, growing, and still standing. This mental shift, while subtle, can change everything. Gratitude acts like a flashlight in the dark, revealing the parts of our lives that are still good, still strong, and still worth holding on to. A real-world example: gratitude at work. Let's bring this to life with a concrete example. Imagine you've been working hard for months, maybe even years, in hopes of a promotion. You've put in the hours, delivered results, and gone the extra mile. But when the promotion is announced, it goes to someone else. Naturally, you feel hurt, frustrated, maybe even angry. That's normal. And the Stoics would say, don't suppress those emotions. Acknowledge them. Feel them fully. But then, shift. Take a deep breath, and turn your gaze toward gratitude. Ask, what do I still have? Perhaps you've built strong relationships with your colleagues. Perhaps your skills have grown immensely in the process. Perhaps this setback is a sign pointing you towards something better, something more aligned with your purpose. This isn't about pretending you're happy. It's about expanding your perspective, so disappointment doesn't close your heart. By doing this, you prevent one negative moment from poisoning your entire outlook. You maintain your emotional resilience, your clarity, and most importantly, your hope. The morning mindset, a Stoic ritual of thanks. Marcus Aurelius offered timeless wisdom on this very practice. In Meditations, he wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. This isn't just a poetic sentiment. It's a daily practice, a way to train your mind to see the miracle in the mundane. Every morning, before the world demands your attention, you can take a few seconds to ground yourself in gratitude. Say to yourself, I have breath in my lungs. I have another chance to learn something new. I have the power to choose kindness today. I am loved, and I can love. This simple ritual sets the emotional tone for your day. It strengthens your inner stability, so that when the storms of life come, and they will, you remain centered, grounded, and clear. A simple, yet life-changing habit, the gratitude journal. One of the most effective, and surprisingly easy, ways to cultivate Stoic gratitude is by keeping a gratitude journal. Every night, before bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for from that day. They don't have to be profound. A warm shower. A smile from a stranger. Finishing a difficult task. Hearing your child laugh. This practice may seem small, but over time, it rewires your brain. You start looking for good things during the day, because you know you'll be reflecting on them later. Instead of focusing on what's missing, your mind begins to recognize what's already present. That is Stoic mastery in action, training the mind to be calm, clear, and joyful, regardless of circumstance. In summary, gratitude as a way of living. Gratitude is not about ignoring life's difficulties. It's not about denying pain, disappointment, or ambition. It's about not letting them define you. It's about recognizing that, even in struggle, there is still light, there is still love, there is still something to be thankful for. Seneca said it best. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. When we live with this mindset, when we practice it each day, gratitude becomes more than an emotion. It becomes a compass, a way to navigate life with grace, peace, and unshakable strength. Gratitude in daily practice, the journal and the heart. One of the simplest yet most transformative Stoic habits is this. Keep a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, before the world quiets, before you drift into sleep, pause for just 5 minutes. Reflect, breathe, and write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't need to be monumental or dramatic. In fact, the smaller, the better. A kind word from a friend. A quiet moment walking home. The strength to endure a tough meeting. The cozy warmth of your bed after a long day. With time, this practice rewires your mind. It shifts your inner lens from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to fulfillment. You begin to see what you once overlooked, the small victories, the quiet joys, the little signs that life is still good, even on hard days. This isn't wishful thinking. It's Stoic training in action. By ending each day focused on gratitude, you don't just sleep more peacefully, you live more peacefully. Gratitude in relationships, the power of a simple thank you. Gratitude doesn't just live on the page of your journal. It lives in your relationships. Seneca, the wise Stoic teacher, reminded us to express gratitude to others, not just because it strengthens bonds, but because it elevates the soul. He believed that when we acknowledge the good others bring into our lives, we become more connected, more grounded, more alive. It's so easy to take people for granted, especially those we see every day. Think about the friend who always checks in. The colleague who quietly covers for you when you're swamped. The parent who supports you unconditionally, even when you forget to call. These acts of kindness often go unspoken, unnoticed, not because we don't care, but because we forget to pause and say something. But imagine what happens when you do. A simple thank you. A sincere I appreciate you. A heartfelt I'm grateful for your help today. These words carry weight. They deepen trust. They build bridges. And most importantly, they remind you of how deeply connected you are to others. When we express gratitude, we don't just uplift others, we elevate ourselves. The joy of simple things. Gratitude also means learning to love what is already here. In a world that often tells us we need more success, more followers, more luxury, the Stoics gently redirect our attention to what's already enough. Epictetus taught that true happiness isn't found in grand possessions, but in simplicity, in the warmth of the sun on your skin, in a hot meal shared with someone you love, in the satisfaction of honest work, done with care. This is not about lowering your standards, it's about raising your awareness. Because when you can find joy in the small things, you unlock a power most people never discover. You become unshaken by the world's chaos. You become anchored in the present. You become rich, not in wealth, but in wonder. A real-life reflection. Imagine this. You're holding a warm cup of tea. The day is winding down. Outside your window, the last light of the sun casts golden shadows on the trees. You think back on your day. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it was hard. But you made it. You learned something. You connected with someone. You laughed. You breathed. And in this quiet moment, you write it down. Today, I'm grateful. That's Stoicism. Not cold, emotionless detachment, but clear-eyed appreciation for the beauty and meaning in the life you already have. Conclusion: gratitude as a way of living. Gratitude, to the Stoics, was not just a mood, it was a discipline. It was a daily, deliberate choice to notice what is good, to cherish what is here, and to celebrate what is real. Seneca said, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." And that is the truth. Because a grateful heart is a powerful heart. A peaceful heart. A heart that can weather any storm. Because it is full, not of things, but of thankfulness. So tonight, as the world quiets, take a moment. Write down your 3 things. Speak your gratitude aloud. Hold on to it like a compass. And let it lead you to a life not just of success, but of joy, depth, and unshakable peace. In a world that never stops buzzing, where messages ping through our phones, where endless scrolling replaces silence, and where being connected often feels more like being distracted, solitude becomes a rare and sacred thing. But the Stoics, wise as ever, taught that solitude is not something to fear or avoid. It's something to cherish, to embrace, and to seek out regularly. Because in solitude, we meet the one person we often neglect the most, ourselves. The Stoic view of solitude, a space for the soul. Seneca once wrote, "The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with himself." This idea may seem foreign in a world that constantly pushes us outward, toward likes, validation, social status, and the fear of missing out. But for the Stoics, solitude was not loneliness. It was a sacred opportunity to reflect, to recharge, and to reconnect with what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor surrounded by power and people, carved out time for solitude every day. In his journal, now known as Meditations, he wrote not to impress others, but to remind himself of what it means to live wisely, humbly, and deeply. He found clarity not in crowds, but in quiet. Why solitude is essential today. Today, more than ever, solitude is essential. We are bombarded with noise, notifications, opinions, distractions, until we can no longer hear our own thoughts. But in the stillness of solitude, something shifts. We begin to hear our inner voice again. We confront the truths we've buried under busy schedules. We remember who we are, and what we value. Solitude is not a punishment, It's a return. A return to yourself, to your breath, to your values. It's in those moments alone, when no one is watching, that your character is formed. Not by external applause, but by internal alignment. A modern-day example. Imagine this. You've just finished a hectic day. Deadlines, meetings, noise. You sit alone in your room. The light is low. The world is quiet. And for a moment, there's no one else to impress. No performance. No expectation. Just you. You breathe deeply. You think. You ask yourself, not what others want from you, but what you want from this life. This is solitude. And this is where your strength is born. Solitude versus loneliness. Let's be clear, solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the painful feeling of disconnection. Solitude is the empowering choice to connect more deeply, with yourself, with nature, with your thoughts. The Stoics didn't fear being alone, they used it. They used solitude to reflect on their values, write with clarity, and train their minds for resilience. In solitude, they became wiser, stronger, more in control of their emotions. And so can you. Practicing solitude in daily life. You don't need to retreat to a mountain to practice solitude. You can find it in your morning walk without headphones, in journaling before bed, in a few moments of deep breathing before a meeting, in choosing to sit in a park, phone off, simply observing the world. These moments, small as they are, build the muscle of inner stillness. And with practice, that stillness becomes your strength. The power of being alone without feeling empty. Epictetus taught that the highest goal of philosophy is self-sufficiency, not in material things, but in your soul. He said, "He who is not happy with little, will not be happy with much." Solitude helps you discover that you are enough. Without applause. Without distraction. Without the need to constantly do more or be more. You are enough when you are simply still. And in that stillness, you find not just yourself, but peace. Conclusion: solitude as a gift, not a burden. Solitude is not isolation. It's integration. It's not emptiness. It's a full return to your essence. In a noisy, fast-paced world, Stoicism teaches us to turn down the volume of the outside, so we can finally hear the quiet truth within. So take the time. Step away. Sit in stillness. Let the world rush past. You don't need to chase it. Because in solitude, you rediscover your center, your courage, your peace, your purpose. And you begin to live, not louder, but truer. Marcus Aurelius himself found profound value in the stillness of solitude. In his Meditations, he wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This quote captures the very essence of Stoic philosophy, the belief that true peace does not come from the world around us, but from the world within us. For the Stoics, solitude wasn't about physical isolation. It wasn't about escaping others or withdrawing from life. It was about creating mental space, a sacred pause from the noise and chaos of daily living. Solitude, they believed, is where we go to remember who we are. In solitude, we gain the freedom to reflect, to step back and look at our own lives with clarity. We can ask, what am I chasing? Why did I react that way? Are my actions aligned with my values? This kind of introspection isn't easy. In fact, in today's hyper-connected world, many people run from solitude because silence feels uncomfortable. We've become so used to stimulation, endless scrolling, constant messages, background noise, that the idea of sitting alone with our thoughts feels foreign, even frightening. But this is exactly where Stoicism steps in, with courage, discipline, and truth. Seneca, another Stoic master, once wrote, "Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company." This simple but powerful line reminds us, being alone, truly at peace in your own company, is not weakness. It is mental strength. It is the sign of a soul that is calm, centered, and unshaken by external noise. A common modern-day scenario. Picture this. You've had a long, stressful day at work. Your mind is cluttered. Your body is tired. The instinct? Turn on the TV. Open social media. Call someone. Distract yourself. And while those things can bring temporary comfort, they often prevent us from doing something far more important, processing. But now imagine instead. You dim the lights. You sit quietly with a cup of tea. You close your eyes. And for just 10 minutes, you allow your mind to breathe. You reflect, not to judge yourself, but to understand. What happened today? What triggered your emotions? What can I learn from this? This quiet pause becomes your retreat. Not from life, but into the core of life itself. This practice, though small, changes everything. It reduces stress, sharpens clarity, and builds resilience. And most importantly, it reconnects you with your inner compass. Because when you know how to sit alone in silence, you learn how to walk through the world with strength. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. He often spoke of the power of retreating into oneself not as an escape, but as a reset. He believed that no matter how chaotic the outside world may become, there is always a quiet sanctuary inside us, a place untouched by noise, ego, or fear. Conclusion. Solitude is not the absence of life, it is the deepening of life. It's not about being alone. It's about being whole. The Stoics teach us that when we cultivate this inner space, this daily ritual of reflection, we don't just survive the world's noise. We transcend it. Marcus Aurelius often spoke of the soul as a sanctuary, a sacred place untouched by the chaos of the world. He wrote, "People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, in the mountains. But it is in one's own soul that a man finds the most peaceful and trouble-free retreat." What a powerful truth. We travel far and wide, hoping to escape stress, to clear our minds, to feel alive again. But the Stoics remind us, we don't need to run to distant places to find peace. Instead, we must learn to turn inward, to retreat into the quiet corners of our own minds. This is where real clarity lives. This is where wisdom waits. The power of solitude. In today's noisy world, solitude can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. We are constantly bombarded by messages, demands, and the expectations of others. We're told how to live, what to want, and who to be. And in the middle of all that noise, we forget to ask ourselves, what do I want? Solitude gives us the space to ask that question, and actually hear the answer. When we take time for quiet reflection, we develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. We peel away the layers of expectation and reconnect with our true inner compass. A common struggle, navigating life's crossroads. Imagine this. You're at a crossroads in your career. You've been offered a new opportunity, one that promises growth, but also uncertainty. You talk to friends. You ask your family. You gather advice from colleagues. And suddenly, your mind feels cluttered. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to help. But in the process, your own voice gets lost. This is where solitude becomes essential. When you sit with yourself, no distractions, no outside noise, you begin to hear what truly matters to you. Is it stability you value? Freedom? Creative growth? Balance? By carving out this quiet space, you filter out the noise of others' expectations and reconnect with your core values. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What aligns with who I am?" Solitude and emotional clarity. Beyond decisions, solitude is also one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation. In a world that rarely pauses, our emotions often build beneath the surface: frustration, anxiety, sadness, all waiting for a moment to explode. But Stoicism teaches us something different. We don't have to react. We can observe. We can reflect. We can process. Epictetus taught that the wise person learns to look at emotions without being ruled by them. This doesn't mean denying how you feel. It means creating space to understand your emotions before they control your actions. Think of solitude as an emotional mirror. It helps you see why you feel what you feel, where those feelings come from, what those feelings are trying to teach you. And in that reflection, something powerful happens. You begin to respond, not react. You become calm, even in chaos. Conclusion. Solitude, in the Stoic tradition, is not loneliness. It's not escape. It is returning to yourself. It is a practice of coming home to your values, your emotions, your truth. So next time the world feels loud, overwhelming, and uncertain, don't just seek peace in the mountains or oceans. Seek it in the quiet space within. Because as Marcus Aurelius said, nowhere is more peaceful than that quiet place within your own soul. And once you learn to dwell there, you will never be truly lost again. The power of solitude in emotion and reflection. One of the most transformative practices in Stoic philosophy is learning how to examine our thoughts and emotions in solitude. Not to escape life, but to understand it more clearly. When we are alone, without distractions, we can ask ourselves, are these emotions truly serving me, or are they clouding my judgment? This simple question holds great power. Because often, in the rush of daily life, we react on impulse. We let emotions dictate our decisions. And sometimes, those reactions do more harm than good. But when we pause, when we create a moment of solitude, we give ourselves the gift of perspective. We step out of the storm and observe from a place of calm. A common conflict, the space between reaction and response. Picture this. You've just had an argument with someone close to you. Maybe a friend, a sibling, a partner. Your heart is pounding, you're frustrated. And your fingers hover over your phone, ready to send that angry message. In that split second, you have a choice. You could respond in the heat of emotion. Or you could take a breath, walk away, and find a quiet space to be alone. The Stoics would choose the latter. Why? Because solitude creates space between stimulus and response. It allows you to process, not just the words spoken, but the emotions behind them. In this quiet space, you can ask, why did that argument affect me so deeply? What part of this is about them? And what part is about me? How can I respond in a way that reflects who I want to be? This moment of self-reflection is not weakness. It is wisdom in action. And when you finally do respond, you do so not to hurt, but to heal. This single choice can preserve relationships, prevent regret, and strengthen emotional maturity. Solitude as a ground for gratitude. Solitude isn't just about conflict or decision-making. It's also a sacred space for gratitude. In our noisy, hyper-connected world, it's easy to forget what we already have. But when we step into stillness, we can finally see clearly the people who support us, the moments of peace in our day, the simple blessings we take for granted. Seneca, with timeless wisdom, wrote, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not." This practice of gratitude in solitude is not about pretending life is perfect. It's about recognizing that, even amid chaos, there is still beauty. There is still goodness. There is still something to be thankful for. Solitude in the modern world. Today, we are more connected than ever, yet often feel more lost than ever. Notifications. Headlines. Endless conversations. Social media noise. We rarely sit still. And we rarely sit with ourselves. But Stoicism reminds us, solitude is not isolation. It's a return to your core. It's stepping away from the crowd to hear your own voice again. Even just 10 minutes of quiet in the morning. A walk in nature without your phone. Or simply sitting in stillness with your thoughts. These small moments of solitude act as emotional reset buttons. They recharge your spirit, refine your thoughts, and reconnect you to what truly matters. Conclusion: embrace the silence. To the Stoics, solitude wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity, for growth, clarity, and inner peace. In solitude, we don't run from the world. We prepare to meet it with greater wisdom, patience, and strength. By retreating into these quiet spaces, we remember who we are. We examine how we feel. We align our choices with our values. The peace within. In the end, what the Stoics taught us remains clear and timeless. The greatest retreat is not in distant lands, but deep within our own souls. That's where true peace resides. That's where wisdom takes root. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope today's episode reminded you that living a good life doesn't mean forcing outcomes or chasing control. It means embracing the journey, trusting the process, and finding calm in the present moment. The Stoics remind us, we can't control what happens around us, but we can always control how we respond. If this video resonated with you, please take a moment to like the video. It truly helps more people discover these timeless teachings. Comment below, let me know what part of today's lesson spoke to you most. Share it with someone who could use a little more calm and clarity in their life. And most importantly, subscribe for more insights, reflections, and Stoic tools to help you live with strength, peace, and purpose. together. Let's continue growing. Not just in knowledge, but in character, in courage, and in the quiet strength that Stoicism teaches. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and keep walking the Stoic path. You don't have to force the sun to rise. You don't have to beg the seasons to change. Life has a rhythm, and so do you. If something isn't working, maybe it's not broken, maybe it's not yours to fix. Let go. And in the space you leave behind, peace will enter. Remember, the strongest tree isn't the one that resists the wind. It's the one that bends and survives. Thank you for watching. If this message found your heart, stay with us. Subscribe, share, and walk this Stoic path together with us. In silence, in strength, in peace,